Hello, I'm Dr. Gloria Horsley.
And I'm her daughter, Dr. Heidi Horsley.
Heidi and I want to welcome you to Open to Hope Conversations, the podcast.
We believe that the greatest gift you can give yourself after a loss is hope, using this moment to connect with others who have not only survived but thrived.
So let's get started. Welcome to the Open to Hope Show. I'm your host, Dr. Gloria Horsley, with my daughter and co-host,
Dr. Heidi Horsley.
Well, Heidi, we're going to talk about dreams today. I love that. And we've got a great dream expert on today. But before we introduce our guest, I want to remind you that my new book, Open to Love, The Secrets of Senior Dating, written by myself and my fiance, Dr. Frank Powers. So for those of you who've lost a partner and who are ready to think about finding a new love in your life, we suggest that you get our new book. It's on Amazon. Heidi's got it there. There are all sorts of tips and tools on how to meet a new partner, how to deal with it. Particularly, we talk a little bit about online dating. Frank and I met online, and it's wonderful to know I've got a second love in my life. So it's been a lot of fun, and I think you'll enjoy the book. So just to let you know, 100% of the proceeds for this book go to the Open to Hope Foundation with a mission of finding hope after loss. So go online and get the book. You can get an audio, and you can also get it on your Kindle, and you can get the hardcover. So please go get the book and help to support Open to Hope, and also to find that second love in your life. Well, Heidi, do you want to introduce our guest?
I'd love to, because our guest is a dear friend. We've done a lot of work with her. She's presented for years and years at a lot of bereavement conferences that we've been at, including the Compassionate Friends, TAPS, Bereaved Parents USA. It goes on and on and on. Her name is Carla Blowey. She is a certified dream work facilitator. She's been doing this work for a long time, Mom. She is the author of a wonderful book called DreamingKevin, The Path to Healing. And she has presented dream work programs for support groups, as well as presented at national bereavement organizations. So welcome to our podcast again, Carla.
Hi, good afternoon on this wonderful day to see you again.
Great to see you again. Now, we called the show Dreams, Pathway to Healing, and you started your dream work after your son, Kevin, was killed.
A bike truck accident, yes.
Oh.
Bike truck.
And Kevin
he was little.
5.5. He was 5.5, and he was riding his bike past the driveway of our neighbor's home when a visitor backed out in a utility truck over him.
Now, were you a dream worker before Kevin died?
I was a big dreamer and had been exploring a lot about my dreams, but not the dream worker I am today. It truly was the catalyst for diving deep and doing the work, because it became a wonderful tool for me that I was able to bring to therapy.
So what happened was, after he died, did you start having dreams about him and then brought them to therapy?
Well, I began the journey 33 years ago. That it's crazy that it's been 3 decades.
Yep, it's been 40 years since Scott died.
I mean, 40 years for you, right? So yeah, and we know that it's a journey of self-discovery, right? It's something that continues, and that we learn to live with, and we grow from it. And I was told by a wonderful mentor that I took the road less traveled. And it really turned out to be the high road for me, because it led to healing the wounds of grief in my body, my mind, my heart, and my soul. And so I had the nightmare, what I call the nightmare, which was a prophetic and precognitive dream about Kevin's death the night before.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
And so within 12 hours is when he had the accident. And
what was your dream?
Well, it was pretty intense. I dreamt that I was walking on our neighborhood street where we lived with my kids, and a cult group was following us. And I had this fear that they were wanting to take the children from me. And so we ran from them. Long story short, ended up back in our house where I thought we were safe. And yet they the cult had somehow infiltrated our home and had, I thought, taken the children. And there were so many archetypes and symbols in the dream, but the fear, it was the driving force that made me initially misinterpret it as a warning. Where, you know, it was actually precognitive and prophetic and had both of those elements in it. And so I heard Kevin calling to me. I was in the kitchen in this house or in our home, and I heard him calling to me, and he kept saying, "Mommy, come find me, come find me." And I took a left out of the kitchen, and I ended up in this attic area, and I was climbing and crawling up ladders and ladders and ladders to get up to this attic because I kept hearing his voice. "Mommy, come find me, Mommy, come find me." And then when I got up to the attic, got up, there was a door, you know, I pulled myself over that, opened up the door, and there was this blonde-haired woman with what I perceived to be a chainsaw.
Wow.
And Kevin was hanging from the rafters below her.
Whoa.
And I perceived, my perception was that she was going to cut him down. And at that moment, I, you know, was shocked and you know, and all of that. And then there was just this exchange between us, this look, and I knew that she was going to take him, and I couldn't do anything. And she shut the door in my face.
Okay, so
Wow.
that's your dream, and then Kevin was killed.
And then, right, so I wake up from that dream that morning. I wake up and I'm, you know, frazzled, and it was the day after vacation from Christmas vacation. Kids were going back to school. I was going back to work the next day. You know, you're just shocked by all the images and the fear and everything that's going on, but you got to get on with your day. You know, kids had to get to school. We had to get up and going. But I had this really the sense of doom all day. I kept him close to me. He went to preschool, brought him back, a bunch of things. And then there were just little things that were happening during the day that turned, in retrospect, you know, was that intuition. And so we were going to go pick up my daughter from gymnastics after school. And he said, I was doing something in the kitchen. It's getting dinner ready before we left. And he said, I want to, you know, ride my bike. And then there was just this, I was like, okay, you know, yeah, you can. And now it's the middle of winter. It's January 7th. And I helped him put his coat on and, you know, zipped him up and put his hat on. And there was just this look on his face of resignation, I guess. And so then I said, well, you know, we're going to just go for a few minutes, go out. And then within 5 minutes, I heard yelling out on the street, and it was the driver of the truck calling for help.
Wow.
And I opened up the door. And so there were so many elements. I mean, that's it in a nutshell.
You know, it's interesting because you're talking about two things, metaphor and symbol.
Mhm.
And so you take a dream like that about Kevin, and as you grow and develop over the many, many years,
Yes.
I would assume that you are able to, as you're ready to deal with those symbols and to go through it, that these, what do you call them, landmark dreams become even different for you. You also believe that dreams are really for your good.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. My teacher and mentor and dear friend, Jeremy Taylor, who is the founder and director of the Marin Institute of Projective Dream Work, where I got my certification for as a dream work facilitator. He always said, all dreams come to us in the service of health and wholeness, and no dream comes to tell us what we think we already know.
So how do nightmares fit into that? I mean, this sounds like a nightmare dream.
Well,
Yeah.
and it also sounds like something that if you had it in hindsight, you could really feel guilty for a
Yes.
long time and have regrets.
Oh, sure, because I thought it was a warning. I thought I missed a warning.
Right.
I thought, oh my gosh, when I finally realized that night when our house was full of people and, mourners and everyone coming over, and I had gone to bed with Amber, and, here she is, 8 years old. She has no idea what's going on. And I'm laying there with her. And then all of a sudden, all the images of the dream come back to me, and I realized that I knew it. And, it happened on my watch. So, I suffered, greatly from the misperceptions that I had about that initially, but I had a wonderful grief therapist and counselor who was willing to help me examine that dream, just initially that dream, and then so many more that came afterwards. And so, I mean, that's what I would bring to therapy.
I was looking at Jeremy Taylor, some of the other things that he said that you trained with, and I thought it was interesting that he said dreams don't only have one meaning.
Right, multiple layers of meaning.
And then the other thing that I think is really important that I read that he said was that only the dreamer can say with certainty what a dream means.
Yes, only the dreamer knows for certain what the dream means for them. However, what we do in dream work is offer our projections so that the dreamer can see it differently in a non-threatening and non-judgmental way. And we do that with the projective format, which is if it were my dream.
Right. Yes, I like that. It's fun to do that with 3 or 4 people that are interested in dreams. You can say, if it were my dream, this is what I would mean.
If it were my dream, this is what it means to me, because I could never sit in your dream theater and see the dream the way you saw it. I can only see it through on my dream theater screen through the lens and of my perceptions and my associations and such. But the thing is that we have so much common ground as human beings.
Okay, I'm going to ask you and Heidi, this is my dream last night, because I knew Carla was going to be on the show, and Carla had a son die and I had a son die. All right, and my daughter Rebecca, who's our outreach coordinator for the show. So Rebecca's on the telephone. She's on a cell phone talking to
This is your dream.
This is my dream to my son Scott, who died 40 years ago. And they're talking, and she's very excited. And she's like, "Oh, Mom, you have to talk to Scott." And she's talking to Scott on the phone, and they're talking away, and I can hear her dialoguing with him, and they're just having I can hear his voice and her voice, and they're dialoguing, having a call. She hands me the phone, and I say, "Scott," and the line's dead.
Wow.
But I could feel that she was so excited that she was going to give me something.
Yeah.
Rebecca was, but then she had me the phone, and I'm to hear Scott and no Scott. The line's just, it's hard to say. It's no sound, but it is a sound because there's sound. I don't know.
Yeah.
So Heidi, if it was your dream.
If it was my dream, I would say that it represented the significance of sibling loss. And the bonds that we have with our sibling. Rebecca and Scott were having a really incredible moment, and it was about the sibling bond.
Right. How about you, Carla?
If it were my dream, it's my sense that it's a visitation dream. It has elements of a visitation dream to it. And I'm a channel, or I am a witness to this reunion between my son and my daughter. And what I needed out of that was to be able to witness that and know that they still had a connection. And whatever it was that they got out of it on another level in some other way is between them. Right. But then I got to witness that. And it wasn't my phone call.
This is why Carla is the expert on analyzing dreams. Look at how she did that.
I know, it was
fabulous. I love that. I love that.
Right. And so the multiple layers to that then would be, if in working this, I would say, okay, so how did that make me feel how did I feel when I was I thought I was going to get my turn to talk to Scott.
I felt like
mine did.
crap, but you made me feel better now.
Right.
It wasn't
So,
my dream. It wasn't
so
my.
that's the ego. You both understand how
Oh yeah.
you
Oh
operate
yeah.
for it. And so then
I
the
wanted
ego,
that to come.
No,
right,
it was
I
about,
wanted
it was about
that,
the
Them.
sibling. It was about the sibling experience, not
but it
about
was about
the
the
mother-child experience.
yes. And as a
I feel
mother,
vindicated.
right. And as a mother, let's look at the whole archetype of mother and what we do, who we are as mothers and the nurturing, the protection, the micromanaging kind of that we do also as mothers, to get this together. So in my imagined version of the dream, it was meant for me to witness this beautiful reunion. And I'm grateful for having been the channel for it.
Oh, I
And,
love that. I
and
was
so
want to cry.
I can relay this now to Rebecca of how, what I dreamed about her. It's not that I dreamed it for her, but I dreamed about it. So we don't know if on some other level, Rebecca had her own reunion. We don't know that. We
It
don't
was
know.
so interesting because I heard them talking. I knew they were talking. It was
Yeah.
so
Well, I love this, Mom, because I think it's such a gift that you're giving to Rebecca by
Yes.
telling her that you witnessed, like Carla's saying, Scott and her having a conversation together.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I love
Carla, I
this.
love
That
that.
was wonderful. Oh, Gloria, I'm glad you shared that. Thank you.
Scott died 40 years ago, and I didn't even know it was 40 years ago. And one of his really good friends, John Jensen and Mike Lawler, who were his friends 40 years ago, I had a chance to have them get in touch with me and
Mhm.
talk about what it meant to them. So I know in an update you made to your wonderful book, DreamingKevin, The Path to Healing, you talk about getting in touch in the updated version with people who would have been connected to Kevin, either, knew him or heard about him in the community, or who did you get in touch with and what did you hear after all this?
Well, oh gosh, that was just such a profound moment because when I was updating the book, we were updating the cover and I was doing some different things with it. Really, the update was supposed to be 2 books. The second book was supposed to be about the children. And I had shelved that and just like, maybe I'm not ready for that now or whatever. Just going to update DreamingKevin, update the cover and everything. And then I heard one day Kevin say, "But Mom, what about the children? What about the children?" And so it just came so it was such a fluid experience in that I thought, oh yeah, I want to know what it was like. What's it like for them now? What are they thinking about? How did this experience of losing a brother, a cousin, a best friend, a classmate impact them at the time? Because they're getting so much from their parents. And we were at that time, because, remember, this is 33 years ago. Kids are resilient. Siblings, they're resilient. You just move. They'll be okay. They'll be okay. But that wasn't so. And there was so much that was going on that they were processing that they didn't understand and that no one was talking to them about. And parents were doing the best that they could. So fast forward to the present, I came up with a list of questions for them to ask them how, what they remembered, what they remembered about Kevin.
Wow.
There was so many over 5. And then what they remembered about the experience, and then how it's impacted them today as adults and as parents themselves.
Wow, I love these questions.
Yeah, it was just incredible. So I came up with the questions. I sent out a letter to them right away and immediately. I mean, and some of these kids were kids I hadn't, talked to in several years. His cousins, of course, and nearby good friends and stuff. But there were several of them that, no one had been talking to them about it. They hadn't talked about it in years. So their response was just amazing. And that's what this second part of the book is about, is their answers, their feedback, and then it's changed or developed their ideas about death and the afterlife as well.
What were some of the most profound things that you heard?
The first thing that the kids who became parents said, now I know what it feels like to worry and to take care of my kids, what that means if I were to lose a child. That was one. The other one was about how it affected them in school. Amber in particular, she was struggling in school prior to Kevin's death, and she kind of immersed herself into reading, and that was her escape. Other kids said that they felt this tremendous void in play. Where was he? But almost all of them, I would say all of them, have said at one point or another, they've always felt him with them. They've always
love that.
felt him with them. Yeah.
Of that
Well,
term?
it does have such a big impact when you have an experience of loss of someone young.
Mhm.
And it's interesting as a parent now. I mean, my brother was 17 when he died, and my cousin was 17. They died together, as you know, Carla.
Yes.
When my son, I had processed my own sibling grief,
Yeah.
and I had validated and I acknowledged it, but I didn't fully understand my parents. I still don't. But when my son turned 17,
Yeah.
it hit me so hard. That whole year I kept saying, wow, my parents lost my brother at 17.
17.
My
Mhm.
son is 17. What would this be like? And then having fear that he would die at 17 as well. I'm wondering, Carla, if there's a way that we can remember our dreams.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. First is you have to set an intention that you want to.
Okay.
And then second is to put into practice some good sleep hygiene. Put a journal next to your bed. Commit to recording whatever it is that I wake up to. If I wake up to feeling unsettled, I write down that I'm feeling unsettled. If I can wake up and remember even bits or images of the dream, I write that down. That starts to create a routine. And so within, a couple of weeks to a month, my recall starts to improve. I set an intention before I go to sleep about I'm open and ready and willing to receive with gratitude. That's mine. I'm open, ready, and willing to receive love and support from my dreams, and that I'm not going to judge. So I think the first thing about dream recall is to say, do I really want healing? Do I really want it? And am I willing to accept whatever it is, accept and receive whatever it is I'm given in my dreams? Because Jeremy always told us that recalling a dream means that the dreamer is ready and has everything within them to face the dream.
Why do we have so much resistance?
That's what I want to know.
Reactions and resistance.
Well, I mean, it's exposure. It exposes the darkest and most intimate places within us, and you want to know that when you're sharing something like that, whoever it is you're sharing it with, you can trust, is going to companion you, is going to walk a little bit of the journey with you, that you can have the confidence and the confidentiality to share these most intimate.
Okay, so Heidi, it sounds to me like if you're going to start thinking about journaling and doing your dreams like that you really want to have somebody to share it with. And how do we find a good person to share it with?
Since the pandemic, I started a online Zoom or online group specifically for bereaved parents, and it's called the Dreamlight Cafe for Bereaved Parents. And in that, you have an opportunity to share our dreams, to give the projective feedback in a warm and safe setting. So we use a specific language, like which I had said before, in giving that feedback. because it's non-threatening statements that we do in support of each other. And it's, if it were my dream, I see, I recognize, I wonder, I know it is, I feel, or whatever, or in my imagined version of your dream. And so doing that, it's delivered without judgment or interpretation. And it means that even relatively challenging comments can be made in such a way that the dreamer can hear it and internalize it. So with an online group, in the beginning, I really worried about, oh, it's just not in person. It's, it's just not in person. But I've been so amazed with
Oh,
how
you've been amazed with my dream right here, Carla. I can see you can do
and then
it.
we can, you can still do it. When the title of it, I put Dreamlight Cafe for bereaved parents, but I've also said there's the Dreamlight Cafe that you can customize. And so if you want it to be about sibling loss and about dreaming, for siblings, absolutely. If you want it to be general bereavement, absolutely. It can be anything you want it, but bring someone with you if you don't want to do it alone. Bring someone with you, customize the group so that you have the people that you trust that can support you.
So,
I love
it. Are you suggesting that Heidi could start a group and get in touch with you, and you would?
Yes, absolutely.
Would for her.
Because it doesn't matter whether you're dreaming big, small, or not at all. We really are dreaming. It's the dream recall piece that we need to trigger. And so when we share a dream, we're sharing it not only for ourselves to understand it, but we're sharing it for the community. It's a gift to the community, because when I can when I see my imagined version of your dream, I have my personal associations to it. And I can then say, oh, wait a minute, that triggers something else for me in my life. But here's the projection. And so here's the projection that I'm giving to the dreamer for them to see it differently. And then the dreamer has that aha moment and says, oh, I never thought of it that way. Or I didn't notice that piece in the dream.
Well, Carla, another reason why I love this is because I have a lot of clients who have had traumatic losses and they are stuck in nightmares.
Yes.
And they can't get out of them, and they're wreaking havoc. And I love that you're saying with what you're doing, it's a new perspective on their dream.
Yes, because here's the thing. If I keep telling myself that same nightmare over and over and over, and I'm the only one I'm telling it to, well, what am I hearing? I'm hearing a biased interpretation.
Yeah.
We all have our biases. But if we can receive someone else's perception of my dream in their imagined version of it, then not get
stuck in ego.
Not get stuck in ego. Yes. Real work comes in the commitment to go beyond the comfort zone and to go deeper, to uncover those hidden obstacles in the meaning of the dream. And it, as you both know, in therapy and in counseling, it's not a quick fix. We're not going to get the answer the first time. But that's the beauty of this with dream work, is that you can always come back to it. We come back to it. It will, those multiple meanings and layers will become exposed.
Now people need to get your book, right? You're going to be talking about this in the book, DreamingKevin, The Pathway to Healing. Where do people get it, and how do people get in touch with you?
DreamingKevin.com. Go there, go to services, which will list the individual one-on-one sessions that I do online like this as well, by phone or in person. And then the dream groups, occasion, like every quarter or so, I advertise that there's going to be just a general dream group. But what I'm really wanting is more people to realize and use this tool in our community, in our bereaved community, to come together and recognize it as a powerful tool for healing.
Wow.
Well, go to the website, you'll see services. There's other things. I just redesigned the website, so there's some new stuff that's on there. And and there's a contact form, there's a register button.
Love it. Love what you're doing. And thank you for my dream today. That was
I'm so glad you have that and shared it.
Well, thank you. We love you, Carla.
Thanks. It was great to see you both again. And thanks for letting me share my passion
Thank you so much, Carla. You're bringing hope to so many through your dream work. It's really inspirational, and it's so good seeing you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Want to thank everybody for joining us on this show today. And Heidi and I always want to remind you that if you've lost hope, please lean on ours until you find your own, and God bless.
I'm Dr. Heidi Horsley. You have been listening to Open to Hope, the podcast. You can follow Open to Hope on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. To learn more, visit us at opentohope.com and go to Apple Podcasts to subscribe.
I'm Dr. Gloria Horsley. Join us again next week for another Open to Hope conversation, where we invite you to lean on our hope until you find your own.